I'd been wondering why I didn't move on from A Torch Against the Night to A Reaper at the Gates right away after I'd finished it. And now that I have finished A Reaper at the Gates, I kinda understand. It's most probably the same thing that I experienced with the first book, moving on to the second. These books are so action packed and these characters are so well built that right now I'm scared to move on to the fourth book, partly because
Don't overthink this look in my eyes. Don't be scared, don't be shy. Come on in, the water's fine. You said the ocean's rising like I give a shit.
all this TikTok Sabaa Tahir has made, making jokes about her killing off people's favorite character, and I kind of think I know which character, and though it could not be true, but the way everything has gone until now, the dark mood of the story, she doesn't shy away from the brutality that this world demands. So I'm like, maybe even today, I thought I'm gonna finish this and then I would jump to the fourth book and just be done with it. But right now, I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to be done with this. These books have been so well done that they're already kind of dear to me. I read these pages and I'm like, I would want to reread them in the future, which used to be something that I so easily did when I was a kid, but I no longer do. The more I read and the more diversely I read, so I'm kind of on the fence. Last week that I really actually started reading, I was like, I'm gonna finish this maximum in 4 days, and it took me a week. I would have finished it in two, maybe even less, if I really wanted to. But first, I was reading the ebook. I am not planning to blind myself anytime soon. And that aside, the intensity of all of these chapters was too much for me. Like, it has three point of views, and I had only read one other book in my whole life that had multiple POVs, and I absolutely adored every single chapters. I was never like waiting for one to end so I could get to another. This is very, very important that the author makes you care for these characters, for their journey as well. Every chapter was cut at a perfect moment, and despite the cliffhanger, you would still move on with the other character until the time came for the previous one. When people compared the series to Game of Thrones, firstly, my first reaction to whenever I hear fans of Game of Thrones will love this is, even before the season 8 came, was like, you're making that so huge. And rightfully so, because yes, there was artistry behind all the politics or the world building in a Game of Thrones, but I never felt connected to any of the characters in the books. Like, I read the first two books, and there were very, very few times that I felt like, oh my god, I want to know. I crave for the other chapters of this character. Like, it would move on to another perspective, and I would be like, I would actually check how many chapters I had to read until I reached them again. That's much I didn't care about most of the characters, especially in the first book. At the beginning of the third book, I was like, I think this is getting better. But something happened, and I had to put the book down, and I was never reluctant to go back to them anymore. I have been seeing these awesome books like this quartet by Sabaa Tahir. Also, something I read recently, She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. And these books are everything. They have the scheme, the politics, the war, and a tinge of romance, and they are perfect. I care about these characters. I never did about any character in Game of Thrones. I really hope that my opinion will remain the same when I go to the fourth book. I don't want to go to the fourth book. I fear the fourth book. Reaper at the Gates, the third installment of An Ember in the Ashes Quartet, follows the story of Laia, Elias, and the Blood Shrike as they deal with the consequences and the sacrifices they made for their goal, and if they can achieve it. What I always loved about this quartet is that, it has two really awesome elements of struggle for these characters. One of them is from humans, politics, scheming courtiers, emperors, and at the same time, we have supernatural elements. There are many stories that have one of these two, and this one has both of them together, and it makes the world way more complicated. It shall not be a disappointment for those who have read the first and second book and, still fear that it could get wrong. It doesn't. The pacing, the prose, everything about this book was flawless. And I kind of feel like that's all I have to say if I want to make it a spoiler-free video. Once again, in this book, Sabaa Tahir drew important questions regarding loyalty, humanity, and all those social issues that you see in fantasy worlds, and somehow you can also see them in the real world. How ironic that literally a couple of days after I finished reading this book and I lived through the struggles of Laia as she tries to protect her own people. If you know the news about Afghanistan, you know. Books by POC are not just books. When you read books by white authors, they're just the reimagination of the things that they've heard or studied. When you read books by people of color, you are living through reality, even if it's labeled as a sort of fantasy world. If you watched this video until now, use your platform to at least raise some sort of awareness. At least, it's ridiculous. I follow two sorts of people on my Twitter and literally on social media. There are people of my country, my countrymen, and they're all my Westerner friends. The difference between the sort of content that these two people share is just heartbreaking. At the same time, people are still arguing that when somebody with a huge influence like J.K. Rowling says something terrible, putting lives in danger,
it's okay. Separate the art from the artist.
mugs and designs being more important than lives. I really wish for a world where the power and control is in the hands of those who understand suffering, those who love human beings, and they're not biased when it comes to race, body shape, gender identity. That's the word we need. Around the end of it, there was this beautiful quote that was, "Justice exists for those who take it, and I will be damned if I'm not one of them."
Also, lately I've been working on the editing of the video I recorded more than over a month ago and didn't upload because I caught corona, so sorry for those few people who actually follow every video.
I also did during book talk, by the way, but it's very addictive, but at the same time, it's sort of merciless. It doesn't have a sort of search engine. Whatever you make is either going to go up or it's going to flop. And even if it's viewed by many people in comparison, the app is not going to show it to them after a while, and you have to make multiple videos every day. Sometimes even it shadow bans my videos for no reason, really. I kind of love how easy it is, how creative it is, but I do not like the way it's run. A couple of things that happened lately makes me crave YouTube and for this channel, and rightfully so. Because, honestly, as a bookworm, I want to crawl in a corner and don't want to bother with anyone out there in the world. One reason I'm so intent on creating content about other people's books is, well, partly because I want to find bookish friends and talk to people about the books I've enjoyed, but also because I'm also an author and I want people to be familiar with me and know when my book is out if it's going to be to their taste or not. The point I want to make here is that I kind of think that people who are into watching longer videos, people who are into like watching video essays on history and culture and stuff like that, will be more patient for a historical romance novel, and it's not like a short one. So thank you so much for watching until now. I'm Shahrzad, and I hope I'll see you later on another video on Shahrzad's story channel.